Good morning and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kalvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Privileged to have Kyle Thomas, a certified financial planner on the Haven investment team, to talk about all these topics that are top of the mind. Kim, tariffs, the markets, what do we do? Oh my goodness. Lot to talk about, Kim.
Well, Larry, it's great to be with you, and I'm excited about this week's show. So glad that Kyle could be with us. Kyle, thanks so very much. I don't know if you guys are having this experience, but everywhere I go, I was at a dinner party the other night. Everyone was talking about uncertainty. Not really even talking about necessarily how they feel about it, just talking about the fact that it exists. So I don't remember times that were quite as uncertain as what we're experiencing right now. I mean, certainly every time we have an administration change, we see and feel some of this, but there seems to be just a lot of levels of stress out there. And I can't imagine if you're someone who's, looking at retirement in the next couple of years, or you've just stepped in, how you might be feeling. So we're going to try to address some of those issues during this broadcast, revisiting tariffs and their effects on the economy. We'll talk about that. Uncertainty creates volatility in your retirement portfolio. Let's talk about that. How annuities can play a role in your healthcare retirement. And finally, emotional financial decisions can derail your retirement. And I have to tell you, Larry, that's the one I think that you guys must be the most concerned about, people just making these crazy emotional decisions because they don't know what's coming around the pike.
Oh, emotions and psychology of money and investments. I mean, it's real. And I don't care if you say, well, it doesn't affect me. It pretty much affects everybody. And I hate to speculate, but news is so prominent, and the social media and news travels so fast, and news wants to spread fear and anxiety, and well, it's doing a good job of it. Mm-hmm. It's the new administration. There's no perfect world out here. We always thought that, and again, we don't have a crystal ball by any means, but we thought that 6 to 9 months, it's going to be volatile. We don't see any way around it being volatile. The U.S. economy, I believe, is still very strong in the long-term forecast, and we're certainly very still optimistic. But that's why it's important for people to be where they should be, in the right place, in the right mindset. Mm-hmm. And I just encourage, listeners are listening to the show, and thank you for that. But how much news is too much news? Mm-hmm. Some of it is just so far out there. You just be careful. There's a lot of good things to do in life, and we got to be up on the news. But I just see people just engulfing their whole day in news.
Right.
And right. It takes too much of your mind, and it ruins a lot of people's days. And mm-hmm. I just refuse to let it do it. We got to be have an awareness of understanding of what we're doing. And that's what this show's about. What are you doing? Is anybody helping you? And do you have a plan?
Absolutely. Yeah. My suggestion is walk. Take a walk.
Right. Take a walk. Yeah, that's good advice. That's probably the best advice today.
Kyle, again, so great to have you with us.
Yeah,
we're gonna try to alleviate some of this stress for folks and talk these things through. We want to talk a little bit about tariffs. Tariffs have become, that is the buzzword right now, and I think a lot of people don't even know exactly what it means or how it might impact them. Wondering if maybe you could just address this issue of tariffs and, from your point of view as a certified financial planner, how you're addressing this with your clients.
Yeah. First of all, tariffs, they're often described as a tax on imported goods, but that's not entirely the best definition for it. So tariffs are taxes on U.S. companies that purchase the imported goods. So it's not like the U.S. would be charging a tax to China or Canada or Mexico. It's charging the tax to the companies that are purchasing those goods from any of those countries. Mm-hmm. So that's a common misconception of it right there. And then, so the tariff discussion that's been all over the news pretty much ever since Trump and his administration took office. And that's been causing all the volatility in the markets because there is so much uncertainty, like you were saying earlier. We don't know exactly what is going to come out of all of this. All we know is that the Trump administration is trying to create a more fair playing field in terms of who's charging tariffs and what amount it is, because historically the United States had been getting a lower end of the deal in terms of other countries putting tariffs on our goods and us not reciprocating that. So what we're trying to do is essentially fair the playing field here, because we have a large debt, right? That's the biggest goal here of what the administration is trying to do. We're trying to reduce our debt, and that's something that we can't ignore, because the way that we've been going about that is it's kind of been an endless cycle over the last administrations. We've been printing money to pay the debt, which has been causing inflation. That's kind of the short story of how that's been going.
Sure.
And that's creating that endless cycle, because we just keep printing more money and creating more inflation. Well, we're going to have a little bit of rocking of the cradle here with these tariffs, because we don't know how that is going to be impacted on the everyday consumer. Because yes, prices could increase, but at some point we need to have that rocking of the cradle, because we need to fix the problem that we've reaped here.
Well, you've just answered, but let's walk through it a little bit more. So for those who are listening, and we don't want to be overly simplistic, but at the same time, I think it's a fair question. How might consumers, how might pre-retirees and maybe even retirees be affected by these tariffs?
Well, so the prices could absolutely increase for everyday goods. The taxes on the U.S. companies are passed on to the consumer, which is us. And the imported goods in the pipeline, for the products that we all are going to buy, going to Target or Cub Foods, all those products are going to be increased. If you look at eggs and cars and all those things that are part of our daily life, they've all gone up. There's egg shortages right now. So that's going to absolutely impact us in the short term, at least, right? Because there's less supply out there, and so that's going to create a higher demand, increasing the prices, as well as the increased price for the imported goods themselves.
Now, you've talked about this being, something that, as you put it, rocks the cradle, and the whole idea here is to try to manipulate the economy to turn it around through these tariffs. But this is also a negotiating tool, yes?
Absolutely. If anyone knows Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, if you understand what his concepts were in negotiating tactics, this is all tactics. He's not trying, at least in my opinion, he's not trying to actually implement what he's saying that he wants to implement with these countries. And the administration can't come out and just tell that to the American people, because then his hand is told, right? So this is a tactic into getting a better deal for the United States, and because that's part of negotiating. You start at X, and the other party is at Y, and you get to somewhere in the middle. So that's what the tactics are, and the economy and the stock market specifically are reacting to what the tactic has been, which is why things have been extra volatile, and why it actually could be, a good potential time to be buying in the market and not selling. Sure.
So you sit down with potential clients, and the first thing they say to you is, Kyle, we're scared out of our minds because, prices every time I go to the grocery store just seem to be going up, up, up. And I'm hearing more and more about, imports from Canada going up, up, up. What are you saying to them? What are you suggesting?
Well, I'm suggesting that we go back and look at the plan that we created, because it always comes back to our retirement planning and the analysis that we do. Because when we do that, we run thousands of different trials that incorporate all these different situations. And one of them is a higher inflation number. And if we go back and check out those trials that have the higher inflation, and we see that we're okay, well, that creates some validity in their safety. and then they can feel more comfortable and at peace with whatever happens. Because now, okay, if inflation's at 3 or 4% rather than, the 2.2 or 2.5 that we are planning for base case, then they feel a lot better if things do start to rise, because that's the big talk about the tariffs, is that there's inflation.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a portfolio that is inflation proof, or at least has considered inflation when being put together? If not, then you're going to want to visit with the folks here at Haven Financial Group. That number is 612-504-8400, 612-504-8400. You can go to havenfinancialgroup.com. I recognize, gentlemen, that you can't make a portfolio cannot be inflation proof, but you can take the steps that can certainly make it easier, correct?
Yeah, Kim, as I said at the beginning, just be careful on what news you're listening to and how much news. A lot of these countries have been ripping us off. I mean, if you look at it, they have been. We're looking just for fair trade practice. I think Trump is, obviously, this is a negotiating tool, but, in summary, there's pros and cons of tariffs. And the pros, well, we certainly hope they outweigh the cons in this situation, and I think they will. This thing could increase revenue. It could protect some more domestic industries. Could give us some more leverage. It could protect some companies to help our national security. But there's always the downside. We mentioned some of them. Prices could go up. Well, good grief, they've been high for quite a period of time already. There could be. We already seen retaliatory tariffs, retaliation. Trump puts one on, and then Canada, well, I'm going to do this to you, and they put their foot in their mouth a few different times. But there could be some reduced consumer choices on the shelves if the supply chain gets affected. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. No. In fact, it could take months or even years for us to be able to see that. So it comes back to having an awareness of understanding of what we're doing, what you're doing as far as your retirement planning goes, and this stuff, this isn't the first time in history this stuff has happened. It may seem like it in the moment, but this stuff has gone on before. We've weathered the storm. We live in the United States of America, and we still have all the hope in the world that things are going to be just fine.
612-504-8400. That is how you reach the experts at Haven Financial Group. When we come back, uncertainty creates volatility in your retirement portfolio. Let's talk about that here on the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.